Hello, and thank you for joining us for this very important presentation of the Peoria Safe Community Initiative. I am Pastor Harvey Burnett, the director and founder of the Peoria Association of Pastors for Community and Spiritual Renewal. For those of you who are familiar with us, we sponsored the Peoria's only and first citizen-sponsored gun exchange, and that was back in about 2009 or so, where we actually exchanged guns, weapons off the street for cash. And we were also able to successfully network with individuals from all walks of life in Peoria, many of whom who wanted a new start in life, many of whom who just wanted to make better connections and an opportunity to make better decisions. So the gun exchange was quite successful, and like I said, the only citizen-sponsored event of its type ever in Peoria history. We're building on that. It's been some years now. Times have changed, but unfortunately, murder has not. At the time that we did our gun exchange initiative back in the day, halfway through the year, and that particular time, murders were off the chain. There was probably about 15 murders and a triple homicide that had taken place in the Harrison Homes area at that time. And we sprung into action with not only a community march, but we followed up with the gun exchange and some other events. And we sought to actively, as a group of pastors, deal with crime and violence in Peoria. And in this particular time, it's not going to take any less of an effort than to do the same thing in dealing with crime and violence. We're not a top-down organization. In other words, we're not looking to take direction or walking orders from our mayor, from city government and leadership, even though we like the mayor, city government, and leadership to partner along with us in creating a grassroots campaign and strategizing to help bring a significant change to the community in which we live. We believe that pastors and pastoral ministry is the foundation of change in the community, and especially the closer knit Black community. From where change and change of direction, the uplift of the community, the hope of the community has traditionally always come out of or been associated with the church in particular. So we believe in building on those solid foundations. One of the worst things that we believe happened in pandemic and COVID-19 mitigation was for the secular world to not consider that the church was an essential part of solving the COVID crisis problem. We believe that the church was, is, and always will be an essential part of our community, and one which the pastors and the community itself can come together and make significant stands and changes and move the community forward in ways that maybe it has not moved forward before. Well, the time is now. We've had this vision. I've had this vision for quite a while here, but it's time to now roll this vision out and move things forward, because our murders are not getting any less, either here in Peoria and Chicago or any place else around the country. But we can only deal with what's going on here in Peoria, and we are saddened that for the last couple of years we've had over 25 individuals murdered as a result of street crime and violence, or violent crime within Peoria. There's a number of different reasons. We understand there's no one particular fix or no one thing that we can do. And I think sometimes that we are deceived by thinking that there's one magic wand that we can wave and solve all problems. There's not any one thing that can be done, but there's a number of things that should be done. And the Peoria Safe Community Initiative is one piece that we believe that is valuable, essential, and something that can be done moving forward to help our entire community. So let's get into this presentation real quickly. The problem, quite frankly, is this. Peoria, being such a smallly populated place that it is, has a very horrible crime statistic. Not the worst in the country, but it is certainly pushing it. Peoria's violent crime rate is approximately 10.49 per 1,000. Now, back in 2018, when we began to first put together statistics, it was high then. It was probably about 8.1 at that particular time. But now that thing has blossomed to 10.49, according to the most recent and relative data. Also, the state of Illinois violent crime rate. Peoria exceeds the state of Illinois violent crime rate. State of Illinois violent crime rate is about 4.07. That's the mean in the state of Illinois. The United States violent crime rate is about 4.0 per thousand. Crime data further suggests and reveals that Peoria's violent crime rates are 155% higher in comparison to the Illinois mean, and 160% higher than the national mean of violent crime. In other words, Peoria, we have a problem. They say, Houston, we have a problem. No, Peoria, we have a problem. Peoria is listed as the 15th deadliest city in the United States at 22.53 murders per 100,000. Peoria is considered to be safer than only 5% of all U.S. cities. 5%, I mean, 5% in the worst way. So what does this mean? That means that there's a problem. The result of all this is that we see a city that's unattractive to live in, a city that has an increase in death, pain, and suffering, an increase in fear, all of these things, and perpetuated violence. And like I said, unattractive. There's a negative stigma when these things are considered, when we look at families that want to relocate, grow here, live here, and give their children an opportunity. And I'm a product of Detroit, but I basically grew up here in the Midwest due to military service of my family. And Peoria has not been a bad place for me to have gone through the public school system and to raise up here. So it does not have to be bad, but too many individuals are finding that Peoria is a very difficult place to live. And we have got to solve that problem and solve those issues. So how do we do that? Well, we've got to put together a strategy and a method to do it. It just won't happen just by, letting events come and go. We've got to actually promote a certain strategy and a certain method. And that strategy has got to center around the creation of opportunity for everyone, jobs, and independence. So we believe that the economic leg, which is not the only thing, but the economic leg is a very important piece of solving the problem here in Peoria. And so by that being our number 4 on this list, it is also, number 1. It's right up there, and all of these things are equal together, and we've got to do something. We've got to begin with reinstilling and teaching values education. Now, quite frankly, if pastors are listening to me, and I've been engaged in this particular field of dealing with crime and violence within the community and all of that, some of the people that we're dealing with, some of the ones that are perpetuating violence are either related to you or somebody in your church. And as a pastor, you cannot be in a position to be spaghetti-backed about dealing with these particular issues if you want this community, if you want your church environment to be safe. You've got to have the boldness to be able to stand up and deal with it, whether it's in your church, whether it's in your family, or whatever the case is, and deal with it in the right way and network with other pastors who are also dealing with the same thing. Listen here, a rising tide will lift all boats, but guess what? When the river is running dry, it's going to hurt us all. We're in this together, and nobody has any fingers to point at anybody for anything. And so we have got to be engaged as a church in instilling values consistently within the individuals, not only in our congregation, but at the school level and at the community level and wherever we can. We've got to be pro-values. Many of these individuals, they are committing crime and violence. They're committing murder. They're doing these things because they believe that that is the right value. That is the value system that they have adapted and they have gravitated toward. And we've got to set that record straight because we know better, that there are better values to engage instead of the value of the culture of death that seems to be targeting our young people. And there's another little plan or piece to this where we look at what's called the Community Hero Program, and we'll talk a little bit about that here in a second. So this another part is that we've got to engage as a community and keep that engagement going. One of the things that we did previously, as I said, was the gun exchange. The gun exchange takes some time, effort, and energy, but the gun exchange is very fruitful. It gives us an opportunity to talk about crime and violence, and handgun violence in particular, and help young people change their minds, make decisions to do things differently, and to network, to come into a different, what I want to say, group, or come into to contact with other people who maybe are going a different way, and maybe that's what they need. Also, the gun exchange helps those of us who are in the community also network with the police, because the police are there to handle weapons and all of that. If we want to build relationships, we've got to functionally build relationships by partnering with the police, and the police partnering with us to build these one-on-one relationships within the community. The police can see us and we can see the police, and we can both work on strategies to help these young people, or whoever, whether they're young or old, that come to these events and that need help. So part of the agreement was the police wasn't arresting anyone, certainly on site, and or questioning. There was no questions as to where the gun was coming from, and there was no writing down of license plates to follow anyone or anything like that. Those things were pushed to the back so that we could come together and find meaningful ways to help and interact with the individuals that came to the gun exchange. We've got to have open community forums through neighborhood associations and churches. Churches are an excellent opportunity for the neighborhood association, or excellent place for neighborhood associations to even meet. And those relationships, as I view Peoria, have got to come even closer together, to work together, to network, and somehow, because there's information shared on both sides. The neighborhood association knows what's going on in the community, and the pastor in the community needs to know what's going on, and vice versa. Whatever the pastor is experiencing, the neighborhood association needs to be aware of. So there's got to be a close and even intimate partnership and relationship between the neighborhood associations and the pastors and the churches that are in those areas. In other words, no one group can really carry the day and win out on its own. We must work together, and work together for the benefit of the community. And also we've got the police, what I want to say, community relations piece. So we don't want to duplicate that, but we certainly want to be able to facilitate that and to keep that thing open and moving forward. And we don't want to create an environment to where the police feels like that everything that they envision, that the community is saying, no, that you can't do it because listen, there's a problem here. We want the police to be the police, because I guarantee you, every one of you listening to me, if something's stolen from your house, or if somebody breaks in, you're going to call the police, and you want the police to come and mitigate that situation whichever way that they deem necessary, as long as that pain and suffering is off of you and your family is protected and kept safe. You don't really mind what the police do or how they engage and how they do that. And so we want to make sure that the police know that we're here to support them, and they are here to support us and what we do as we move this community forward. Then there's the youth education piece, and we've got to look at it. There's certain needs in each grade level, and I believe some of your churches have adopted a school and different things like that. I know COVID protocols have been very difficult to engage in school now, because the last year the school was closed down altogether. But as things loosen up, And as things move forward, I believe these adopt-a-school programs must come back. And I believe also that the school has got to find a way to open up to the churches, not just the social service organizations. Social service organizations can only go so far, but the churches and the pastors have an opportunity to engage with the school, not so much to indoctrinate the school, but to be there as an example, to be there in mentorship capacities, and to be there in ways to assist students in their path and in their direction making. As a high school coach and one who has served in grade school and really at every capacity within our public school system over the years, I have been just blessed as I've experienced communicating with these young men and young women at various stages of their life, and been able to intervene to set a good example for them, to help them move on into different visions, different things that they never thought that they could do. As a coach, we're training them in track and field and different athletics, and it's a joy of mine to be able to look back and see these young people who had a direction that was going a certain way, or who did not have skills before we met, but now they have skills as a result. And that's your opportunity as pastor, as churches that are engaged with the community, to be able to do that at every level within the school system. Well, and we can't worry about what happens after they leave our presence and go back home. No, what we've got to do is be the shining star, the shining light, while we are there and while we're engaged with them, and then let the rest speak for itself. Because believe me, if they see something good, they're going to keep coming back and growing. There's uniqueness, unique needs that children have at every grade level. And I've tried to break this up to level 1, level 2, and level 3. And I encourage you, as a part of this plan, we encourage those individuals to be involved at whatever level and whatever engagement at in our schools and with youth in these particular tiers. And I don't believe that we'll be disappointed at all with the results. So that's the strategy and the methods. Now, of course, we are the Peoria Association of Pastors. Listen, we're not a top-down, heavy-centered group, but we've done some things in the community. And from time to time, and this is the type of group where, you know, we have certain groups, certain pastors that work with us, and I'll ask certain other pastors to come on in and different things. And we've had some of the pastors that have died over the years and all of that. But certain ones, such as Pastor Randall, that was very instrumental. He was our assistant, and he's gone on to glory now. But nevertheless, we are here, and we have a good handful of the pastors that are still working and associating with us, and they have accomplished many things, including to help us expand the influence of helping individuals in this community. If your goal or your mindset is not to help, then you know there's really nothing that can be done. We've got to have a goal and a mindset to help our community and help our individuals. So in summary, we've outlined that this, number one, is a proactive agenda. We're not sitting back just waiting for something to happen, but we're going to go and try to make something happen, create this targeted gun exchange. And I don't know how that would look, but maybe a gun exchange, it may be targeted 61603, maybe 61604 or 61605. I don't know. I don't even know if we can do those things, but we need to have that discussion and need to find out, can we do something to be proactive and to be engaged and to help people change their mind about crime, violence, and doing harm to their fellow man. Organize in community forums and network with churches closer to their neighborhood associations. Network with the Peoria public school system. Sometimes the school system is threatened because they see religion as a threat, but yet it's still, they love it when religion gives to them, the religious organization gives to them certain things. But no, there's got to be a little bit better and a closer partnership, that the churches are not trying to indoctrinate individuals, but the church is trying to be the church, and that's to live the life and to help those individuals that we run into, because we need the help and our families need the help, and the church has the resource to provide that. Also, we need to create and monetize a community hero fund. The community hero fund is a fund that runs along with Peoria Crime Stoppers, but one that is a little bit more accessible in that community hero fund actually is something that is controlled and directed by the churches who are a part of the organization. And we use that fund or look for opportunities to direct that fund toward pertinent circumstances, like particular crimes, particular situations that has a community interest, or that we all have a vested interest in making sure that this thing is addressed right away. And so we need pastors to do that, and pastors to help direct those that community hero fund, and also want to facilitate greater community engagement by any and all means necessary. We want people to be involved with what's going on. What can we do next? Well, we've got to create and organize and create engagement teams, establish a community forum on safety and announce what we're doing, collaborate with interested community partners and members. And like I said, raise money, most of all, for the gun exchange. Now, for the gun exchange, we raised about $18,000 back in, like I said, 2009 for that. And I raised that money for the most part myself, probably about 16,000 of it raised myself. There was another 2,000 that was at the Peoria City, and this is one thing that we must have now, is better buy-in from the city. The city is facing this problem, and this, as we said before, it's not just about one thing. It's about the city's face of the community. It's about the city being attractive to businesses, families, individuals, and all of that. And so the city has a vested interest into helping seek money into things that will help this community be safer and be better and be more actively engaged with solving the crime problem. I don't expect this time to have to argue and have to petition the city council for 3 to 4 months for $2,100, when the original request was about $5,000 that I asked the city for. And they whittled that thing down to about $2,100 or so, if memory serves me correct. And it took, like I said, 3 or 4 months for them to do that. I would expect between the Peoria Police and also the city of Peoria that we're able to fully engage with advertising campaigns and whatever we need in order to get the word out, in order for this thing to work and to be successful, and for it to capitalize itself and be supported. And so that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a serious engagement in order to solve crime and violence, or at least put our mark on crime and violence here in Peoria, Illinois. So what do? There's a few stages to it. Solicit participation right now. Collaborate. We need to talk about what's going on and define an agenda. We've got to come up with an agenda where we define it and move things forward. I believe in the new year, we've got to have our fundraising efforts going on, monetize our community hero fund, as well as gaining funds for the Peoria Gun Exchange for a time that we set probably for next year, in order to engage our community and help our community make better decisions. We've got to do this in a non-traditional manner. I'm sorry that sometimes in order to solve the problem, we can't be a traditionalist. We've got to do things maybe a little bit different than we've done it before in order to solve the problem. We've got to be willing to engage with our schools and public education, and public education perspectives on this may have to change or be updated and modified. That the church is, unlike the secular world said, that the church is essential, and it is essential in the lives of our kids. As long as we've got kids that are fighting like dogs at Peoria Central, selling drugs at other schools. I know one situation, someone said, well, Richwoods doesn't have any problems. Yes, Richwoods has problems too, just like other schools do. Manual has its fair share of problems and all of that. So we've got an issue that is an all hands on deck issue, and there's no finger that's able to point at other fingers. And I know I've been around, I've done this, I've been engaged in the school and what's going on for quite a number of years. So I know this up close and personal. And ultimately, once we've increased community and civic engagement and community participation, maybe, just maybe, we can be on a track to really solve, embrace, and to solve, address and solve this particular issue of crime and violence, and move our community forward together. So what can you do? Well, number one, you can be engaged with what's going on. You can call us at 800-730-2990. That's 800-730-2990. You can email me directly at dunamis1, that's DUNAM as in Mary, IS as in Sam, 1, that's the number 1, at netzero.com. And you can say, Pastor Burnett, I'm on board. I want to be engaged. I want to be active in what's going on and in the help and deliverance of our community. And there's a time and opportunity for you to do that. So this is it. Thank you so much for your time and your attention to this presentation. I hope that you can find an opportunity to network with the Peoria Association of Pastors as we try to regroup and get ourselves together to deal with these issues, because we're not going to sit and let another year to where there's nearly 30 murders or so in the Peoria area just go by. It's time for a change. Our community is suffering on many hands as a result, and we've got to do what we've got to do. So once again, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you being with me on this particular event, and God bless you, and we will talk to you soon.